Good morning, guys. How are you? I hope you had a nice weekend. I decided that this week I was going to focus on doing a part 2 of the pattern insights. So patterns for us to look out for when we are feeling like we want to take a trade. And yeah, I just thought I'd extend it, just give a few more reasons and confluences, patterns, symbols, signals, whatever you call them. I know that there was some really good feedback in the last one, so I just thought I'd add some more. And before I start, one thing that I wanted to mention is that obviously it is our own entitlement to use whatever time frame that we want for our trades. And obviously, if we're more scalping, we're going to be using more of the shorter time frames, like 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minutes. And if we're going to be relying more on longer trades, that we might be looking at the 1 hour and 4 hour chart. So bear in mind that all of these patterns and different candlesticks, they do appear across all of the time frames. And now, if you are scalping, obviously you want to stick to a shorter time frame, but also bear in mind that sometimes patterns may happen, but because it's in a shorter time frame, it may mean that the patterns might not make such greater moves. Okay, so it only might be a couple of pips, few pips, however that you look at the charts. If you're looking on a grand scheme of things, on a 4 hour chart, for example, it will take a longer time for patterns to occur, the ones that you are most relying on with your trades. And within that pattern, because it's on a 4 hour time frame, you're going to have lots of patterns in between. So if you do stick to a 4 hour time frame as part of your trading strategy, then you must accept and just be aware that within that time, loads of patterns will occur. And that if you start to look on a 1 minute, 15 minute, depending where your SL is, because that's very important, that may distract you and also take you away thinking that your trade is not going the way you want it, because you're seeing patterns in shorter time frames, and it will take you away from the fact that you are just solidly focusing on that 1 hour or 4 hour time frame, or 2 hours, depending on what you use. But I hope that makes sense. So just always bear in mind, it will always take longer on the 1 hour, 4 hour time frame. And obviously patterns will occur quicker and possibly shorter, not all the time, on the shorter time frames. Okay. So one thing that I wanted to start off with here on this page is our bottom right-hand corner pattern. I tend to use this kind of cupping pattern. I think it's classed as a mug. I'm not really sure what they've called it. I'm pretty sure that there's a name for this one. But what I have began to find is when there is a pattern that kind of creates that U shape, it tends to take some time to consolidate, and then it does a big buy. Okay, and two things that I look for here is with the candlestick here. This is an inverted hammer, isn't it? That's it. So we've got hammer pattern here. Sorry, hammer, not inverted. So this yellow one is a bullish hammer candle. And usually I look for two of those. This one, in fact, was quite large. And then this one here is nowhere near it being a hammer stick, but it's another one that I would have classed as that it's going to go into a big buy. So this kind of in between bullish candle and this one here. I don't currently have a picture of it when there's two of these, but I know it did occur in our last week's gold trade, where some of us were on a sell and some of us were in a buy. So when there's this cupping formation, you tend, if it's going to become quite a good buy, you will see this hammer stick candle, and you will see it trying to come down again and break through. And if it doesn't break through below that first hammer stick, it will start shooting into a buy. So it will try and break through, it doesn't, kind of lingers around in the same place, kind of lingers, looking for that one or looking for another, trying to break through, and then it bounces back the other direction, and you know that you've got a good, gorgeous buy there. Okay, so that's one of the patterns to look out for. I always put this kind of lining underneath that gives me more of a confirmation that it is going in that U shape. And what else? So here on the left-hand corner, we have a beautiful, beautiful trade that happened right at the high impact news at, I think it was at 1:30. Now, here we have a shooting star at the top of a bullish pattern. Okay, now one thing to bear in mind, I've always talked about these 9 EMA that crosses over the 200 EMA and away from the 50 EMA, that purple one. And when it crosses over, it shows that it's going into a nice increase, nice buy, nice buy, nice buy. Now, what happened was, because of the news at 1:30, even though it was going into a really lovely buy, I placed a sell position. And the reason why I did was because the news was basically showcasing me that it could potentially be a sell. Okay, by the fact that, so this trade was NASDAQ 100, US 100. Okay, the US high impact news was kind of giving a bit of a decrease in where it was going, that it was going to go on a lower value. And NAS being a US stock market usually follows the same direction as the US dollar. And so I prepared this for a sell just in case. Okay. So this candle that had formed, which is a shooting star, it literally formed at the last second before it reached that 1:30. So at 1:29, 0.59 seconds, that shooting star formed. And at that moment, I knew straight away it was going to turn into a sell, and it was going to be quite a large one. It was the way how it moved so drastically at that particular last second, and beautifully caught, went all the way past actually the TP, went all the way down to the 200 EMA, and then bounced back in the other direction. So something like this, it's really not that you prepare all day for. It's kind of the combination of what's happening to the overall chart, what's happening to the news, what time the news is on, okay? Because what you wouldn't want to have done is if you, for example, entered a trade around here thinking, oh, the 9 EMA is going really far up, really far up. Do you know what? I know that's not the best entry, but I might do a little entry here on this second candle, bullish candle, and then it would have gone up. You might have not come out there because maybe you wanted it to get to a little bit higher above here, and then it was shot back down to the other side and potentially would have taken you into a bigger loss. So I'm going to show you a third pattern here that I think is going to be super useful for you guys, and I'm going to show it to you via the NASDAQ chart. Okay, excuse me again, it's quite complex, all these linings, so try to just excuse those for the moment. So there's a thing that normally happens in trades, and it really depends, I think, on the chart. So I found that it works really well with NAS, although recently I haven't really taken those trades just because the news has been quite drastic around that time when this pattern happens, and I still haven't found like my full confidence in taking a trade at the time. But I will show you on the NAS to give you an idea. So what tends to happen is when a when a price hits for example, a resistance, let's say we're going to do a sell. If it hits a resistance and it keeps hitting that resistance and it keeps hitting that resistance, right, you will find that normally it will start to take a sell. And now I don't just mean in this particular, but if it's, for example, on your chart, hit it twice. So here I would say that's classed as 1. And this is classed as 2. So it's hit it a few times here. And then over a period of a couple of days, it's hit that area again. If I was to place, we're looking at the 1 hour chart here, but if I was to place a sell around this section here, I could have allowed that trade to keep on going for longer and longer and longer. That's if obviously I'm confident enough to do that. So just to explain again, normally when you find a pattern where the price is rejecting and it doesn't break through that the resistance line, and it rejects and comes back down and then goes back to that same area and rejects one more time. So obviously this one broke through just a little bit. We class that as a false breakout. And then it came all the way back down. So that is a significant sell pattern. Okay, I could have classed that just within this particular section here. If I just zoom in. So obviously we spoke about this one and this one. Let's say in this one, let's say I'd placed a sell here, and then we noticed that it started going back into that support, came back down again, back into that support. So this, sorry, I keep saying support, resistance, excuse me for that. So placed a sell here, it bounced into the resistance, comes out of it because I'm expecting a sell, comes down, but it bounces back into that resistance level. And then that would have classed for me as it will definitely go into a sell. Now, the only reason why I've put an arrow there to go into a buy is only because this pattern here had formed numerous times down below some weeks before, and it had created into a buy. Now, this was quite risky only because the news had actually happened at this particular section, and the news wasn't going in favor for NAS. That particular time, there was a lot of reductions in price for certain stock markets, specifically Tesla and Netflix. So it caused a massive sell. Although just due to pattern, I definitely had expected it to go into a buy to reach this particular zone, which is a zone that he had previously reached before. Okay, so once again, if it breaks, if it goes into your resistance for a sell and it bounces in there, I would suggest 2 times. So on a shorter time frame, we've got here, let's say the sell, we've got 1 and we got 2, and then it went into a sell. If you're looking at a longer time frame or a longer trade over a day or so, it's bounced obviously once, comes all the way back down, bounced a second time, and you can trust that within this second time that you will give yourself a selling trade. Now, if we look at this on the other opposite situation, so for a buy, if we focus here into this particular zone, a support line that I've got here, we can notice that this zone actually caused a false breakout, came down into this support level, and it shot back up. Although, even though it came back down, it did a second bounce off this support line, and that would have given a beautiful signal that it was going to go into a buy. Okay, so you've got 1 here, which is a little bit vague because it does break out and bounces into here, but it doesn't fall short past there, and then it goes into a buy, but we have that second bouncing off that support. And that second one was a beautiful, solid confirmation. Obviously, we never know 100%, but in terms of analysts, we knew that for the second one, it was going to bounce the other direction, going into a buy. We can see it happening here again. So it does a bounce into, breaks out a little bit, false breakout, out of that support level, and then it comes up, it goes back down, bounces once again off that support level in a really drastic way. That was probably a spike. What time? That was at 1 o'clock. That was definitely the news. And it bounces and goes into a higher buy. Okay, so look out for these. They're very, very, I would say they're highly likely in terms of probability. Here we've got another one. If I just show you on a lower support zone here. Sorry, these lines are in the way. Let's bring it up here. So you've got the one here, false breakout, and then it goes up, it goes back down. So you might not want to take that trade because you don't really have anything here that's bounced off from that support level. Okay, it's a bit further back, a week back. So I'd wait for the second one, and if it does that bounce again from that support level, I can confidently say it's going to go into buy. Not 100%, but by analysis, I can definitely put that for a buying trade. And this one worked out very beautiful because it went into a buy. It kind of broke in and out of this area here, this zone, and went into a beautiful, beautiful buy, which is what NAS usually likes to do. It usually likes to kind of pinch around all the EMAs at once. Pinch, 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 and then it shoots up into a lovely buy. Okay, so just to remind you guys of some of the patterns that I mentioned last week, I've put a lovely arrow here just to give you a signal of the two inverted hammers that I always look out for. Actually, the second one doesn't look like an inverted candle, but it definitely was a blue and a turquoise color, so two things that I look for are two inverted hammers. Like I said, this isn't really an inverted hammer, but it was a lovely similar signal that would have gone into a nice sell. Okay, and then you've got, if I should mention here, you've got a lovely hammer that pinches quite strongly away from this 200 EMA, and also you've got a support zone here. So two confluences, two reasons being there that it was when it turned into that lovely hammer, especially of a bullish color, then it turned into a nice buy and went all the way up. Okay, let me see if I can find something else here for you. Just a couple of other candlestick patterns that you might want to look out for. Oh, and if I just show you here, you've got the same thing that happened here. They're not really that greatly inverted hammers, these two. If I just mark that up a bit closer for you. There we go. They're not really the best two hammers, but they are at the top of a bullish run. And then you've got the turquoise color and the blue color that then suggests to me that was going into a nice sell. I've put two more arrows here because this is another arrow. This is another hammer that I look out for. That will indicate to me that will turn into a buy sometime soon. So just to give you an idea, so this one, this hammer candle, let me put the arrow there closer so you know which one I'm talking about. There we go. So that was an interesting one because it's obviously this is all by our own opinions. It's not to say that this is factual, but in the way that I look at the charts, that being a blue color, so a selling color, suggested to me that it was going to go into a sell, but because of the type of candle that it was going to suggest that sooner or later it will go into a buy. Okay, so you could have easily possibly wanted to have placed a buy here and into this section here. Obviously it's within this zone here, which is quite thick. Maybe I should have done it a little bit thinner. But let's say if your entry wasn't the greatest and you really just wanted to take that trade, and you possibly thought I should have waited, so that would have been a gone into a sell, hopefully that your SL would have been a little bit lower or into this next support level here. But it would have gone into that lovely buy, and that to me was an indication that sooner or later it will go into a buy. You'd also got another same candle here, but of a bullish color, the turquoise color that appeared. And these two, bearing in mind it's in a 1 hour frame chart, so that definitely was another sign that it was going to go shoot up for a buy. Then you've got here a lovely shooting star right at the top that broke through the 200 EMA, but it bounced away from it, came away from it, which gave a lovely signal that it was going to go into a nice sell. So you could have caught that one here, potentially would have continued to wait, and then it would have gone and reached that second support level down at the bottom. Right, I hope this makes sense. I know what I've done. I know that I've probably spoken on a way that I'm just kind of in the moment looking at the chart. If there's something that I've mentioned that might have not made too much sense, maybe I've spoken a little bit too fast about that particular pattern or signal, do let me know. The last thing that I wanted to mention is scalping and tick scalping. Now, a few of us may have come across it because we are in challenges, and part of the rules is that they recommend that we scalp for longer than 2 minutes and not tick scalp. Now, it's quite rare, quite unusual for people to fail their accounts based on tick scalping, but it has happened, okay? I do know somebody who has failed their account due to this. They do normally offer you a free run again, based on the fact that obviously you did take the trades, you were profitable, but they were all under 2 minutes. So let's say, for example, all of your trades that you do on a challenge, specifically with Alpha, because Alpha do recommend that they want your overall trades to be longer than 2 minutes. So if you have a trade that went on for 3 hours, but then you had 4 trades that were under 2 minutes, you've got nothing to worry about, because the overall at the end of the day was that one trade that took 3 hours. Okay, so like I said, it's a bit unusual for it to happen, but it can happen if all of your trades that you decide you want to be a scalper and you're that person that comes out quite quickly, it can cause you to fail your challenge. All right, so do bear that in mind, that when you are scalping, that you're looking for good profitable scalps that are a bit longer than 2 minutes, but definitely don't worry too much about it, because tick scalping is considered as a way of scalping already. You just want to make sure that your overall trades that you take overall in the whole challenge, that it's above that 2 minutes. All right, and this obviously doesn't go for the challenges. This is obviously for when you are a funded account holder as well. So tick scalping and scalping, if you need to read more about it, please do. And yeah, I wish you guys a great start to the April week. It is a new seasonal year, so happy new year.